Welcome in the video on Rabindranath Tagore. In this video, I am going to discuss the introduction of Where the Mind is Without Fear. This poem, Where the Mind is Without Fear, is prescribed in the syllabus of English Literature BA Part 1, Paper 1, Poetry and Drama. I am Dr. Vinita Bhadoria, Associate Professor of English in Government College, Behror. The poem Where the Mind is Without Fear is a translated version of Chito Jitha Bhoyo Shunyo. It is 35th verse taken from Gitanjali in English. Gitanjali was originally written in 1910. The English translation of Gitanjali was published by the India Society, London in 1912. In 1913, Tagore got Nobel Prize for Literature for Gitanjali. In this poem, Rabindranath, as a staunch patriotic man, guided by the roots of Indian ethos, spirituality, and philosophical doctrines, requests to Bhagwan or God, the most divine, to spread the light of grace and affection and inspire the countrymen in the direction of fearlessness, truth, hard work, and success. When the poem was written, India was under the British rule and people were eagerly waiting to get their freedom from British rule. It is written in the form of a prayer to the God, the Almighty, for a true freedom for his country, and thus Tagore reveals his own concept of freedom throughout the poem, where the mind is without fear. It represents what India traditionally stands for: the idea of universal tolerance and peace, the idea of self dependency and servitude. It is an 11 lines poem without any identified rhyme scheme. It can be understood as the poem has been translated from its original version in Bengali. It is composed in a very simplified language so that originality seems to exhibit in this translated version. It is a very straightforward poem with no any under the surface connotations and ornamentations. Ornamentation? Ornamentation of language through images, through figures of speech, through symbols. In fact, the entire poem is one single sentence broken into different sections with a semicolon at the end of each line. The poet seems to be in a posture of thoughtful prayer. The theme of the poem is freedom from colonization and what it takes to achieve that. It is as I told you, it is a short poem taken from Gitanjali. In this poem, Rabindranath presents the aspirations and expectations of an intellectual and presents a portrait of a nation that has come a long way from being the guru, the spiritual advisor of the world, because of the shockless of superstitions, blind faith, and inhuman customs in a land where the stream of reason had dried up in a dreary sense of servility. In this poem, the poet prays to the Almighty to lift his country to a state where freedom would be felt and enjoyed in the best way possible, a heaven of freedom. He prayed to the God to make his country a place where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, Moreover, people should be knowledgeable, rational, truthful, hardworking, and broad minded to make his nation achieve true freedom, a kind of spiritual freedom. The poem is a profound prayer to God on behalf of all humanity. According to the poet, our countrymen should be free from threats. They should acquire knowledge not through books, but it should proceed from within mind. He wants to abolish differences and artificial groupings. He inspires his countrymen to seek truth and perfection. He wants to destroy bad habits and customs. He desires that his countrymen should do everything by reason and common sense. He inspires his countrymen to do noble deeds and achieve ideal freedom. The poem reflects the poet's concern for the whole of humanity, although it appears to be a prayer for my country. In this poem, where the mind is without fear, the poet prays to the Almighty to lift his country to a state where freedom would be felt and enjoyed in the best way possible. The entire poem functions as a prayer. He is addressing his father, but not the one he was born to. Rather, it appears that he is addressing God and asking that India, his nation, be released into the world he describes. In the poem, Tagore expresses his love for his country and prays to the Almighty for its well being. In his prayer, the poet says that his countrymen should not live in fear anymore and must do away with the evils of society. They must live with respect, dignity, honesty, and perfection. What is the essence of the poem? What the whole poem describes? This poem, where the mind is without fear, is a contemplation of a state of being, a place and time, and a way of living into which the author, or we can say Tagore, wishes his country India would awaken. Awaken from what? From the superstitions, from the blind faiths, from inhuman customs, from all the evil deeds. Tagore wants Indians to be awakened. The first 9 lines of the poem present a number of statements in which begin with the word where. He is asking the question in every line. In 9 lines, these statements are each positive attributes that Tagore is hoping India will achieve. The poem resolves by finishing all of these sentences and poet making a plea to his father. He requested to God for his country to wake up into the heaven of freedom. Heaven of freedom, the mind should be free from all the evils. Every Indian should be free from every evil thought. This is the dream of Tagore. The figure of speech is used by the poet is metaphor, we can say, because it has been compared to a clear stream. A mind without reason and rationality is stagnated and unable to achieve its goal. This is the thought of the poet. So, I have given you a brief introduction of the poem. what the poem about, and what is the motive to write this poem. What is the motive? Motive of the poet is that his countrymen should live in a free world from fear and threat. He desires that his people should keep their head erect while seeking truth and perfection. He wants his countrymen to acquire knowledge not through books but from within heart and mind. He hates the idea of dividing a land into small portions by artificial groupings and selfish motives. And he encourages his people to speak directly from the urge of truth. He inspires his countrymen to make constant effort to seek truth. He desires that his people should give up bad customs, and they should guide themselves by reason and common sense. According to him, men can be successful in the attainment of their ideals by their lofty ideas and noble deeds. So, the poet prays to God to let his countrymen attain an ideal of freedom for the spirit of man. In Hindi, we can say, because I want to be a little bilingual to make you understand the gist of the poem, कवि चाहता है और वो देशवासियों को ये प्रेरणा देना चाहता है कि वो अंधविश्वास से दूर हटें, बुरे रीति रिवाजों को छोड़ दें और मनुष्य उच्च विचार तथा महान कार्यों द्वारा ही अपने आदर्श को प्राप्त करें। और वो ईश्वर से लगातार प्रार्थना करता है कि मानव की आत्मा के लिए सच्ची स्वतंत्रता प्राप्त करने में उसके देशवासी सफल हों, जहां वो सत्य और श्रेष्ठता को निभाते हुए अपना सर ऊंचा करके चल सकें, जिनमें आपस में घृणा ना हो, जो कि बहुत सारी कास्ट और क्रीड की दीवारें ना बनाए। So this is all in this video. In the next video, I will explain and analyze the poem for you. Thank you very much.